Well, welcome everyone to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, the 1% Solution, part 5 in our series on the economic impact of life insurance with best-selling author, popular platform speaker, and nationally recognized retirement expert, Tom Hegna. Welcome to segment 5, Tom.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be with you.
Well, I like 1% solutions. I don't want to be sitting there doing 30% solution. I just wrote a check for the taxes, here in April.
I know.
That was no 1%. I can tell you that.
Right.
I'm in a big effective tax bracket, and I'm glad I'm making the money, but I don't like paying any more than I have to. But when we're talking about leverage, the 1% solution, this is economic leverage. Walk me through that, why you use this phrase.
Yeah, look, this isn't my phrase. There's a guy by the name of Howard White, and for years he would travel around and he trained people on life insurance products, and he really talked about the 1% solution. So I credit this to Howard White. But what he said is 1% can solve a lot of your problems. So if you think of a person who's diversified, they got asset allocation, they got their 401k, they've got some large cap stocks, mid cap stocks, international stocks, government bonds, corporate bonds, they got some cash. He says put 1% per year into life insurance. And that 1% can solve a lot of problems. In estate tax funding, let 1% of your estate protect the other 99%. So they're saying figure out what your estate's worth, take 1% of that, put that towards life insurance, and that can give you the dollars to protect the other 99% of the estate if you were to die earlier to pay the taxes. Key man insurance. See, think about the businesses, Steve, that have a key person, that if something happened to that person, that business would go right under.
I just went through this with a friend of mine whose key rainmaker in the office died in a crash.
Yeah.
They had no key person insurance on him. Now they've not only lost their revenue maker, their rainmaker, right? But how are they going to replace this? They can't.
They can't.
They can't.
And so that's why if you have a business and you have somebody that is so valuable to that business, you should take out a life insurance policy on that person, that if something happened to them, at least you'd have some cash, that you'd have some options. Buy self-funding. Steve, you've seen this. Many businesses have buy-sell agreements. Very few of them are funded. So let's say we were in business together. And what we say is, well, look, I don't want to deal with your wife. You don't want to deal with my wife. So if something happens to me, my wife will sell you the business, or that you have to pay my wife for the business, but you buy the business so that you don't have to be a partner with my wife. And if something happens to you, I get to buy the whole business, and then I don't have to be in partner with the other person's spouse. Well, that's great, but what's the funding for it? Most people don't have a couple $1,000,000 sitting in their pocket to pay their business person off if somebody dies. That's where life insurance comes in. But you've got to have life insurance in force. So you let 1% of your sales protect the other 99%. Let 1% of your business's value protect the other 99%. What about family income? Let 1% per year of your income provide the life insurance that your family would need to protect your income. What about wealth accumulation? Let 1% of your income or net worth each year go into a policy that would then provide wealth accumulation, that if something happened to you, your family would, we talked about that with your human capital, it would basically replace your human capital.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my budget. I'm a normal person. My viewers are the same. We're going to our budget. We're going to pull 1% out of what we made last year. That's the number we're going to put on, and we're going to put that to secure our future. I mean, we're spending up 1% to secure a financial future.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Now, let me just say this. 1% is a good rule of thumb, especially for wealthy people. For people who are not wealthy, it might take 2%, it might take 5%, but it's a small percent to protect your future. And the wealthier you are, the closer that gets to the 1%.
Well, I like the discipline of it, because we're not a disciplined society, and people say, Steve, what do I need to do here? And you just gave us, start out with the rule of thumb of 1%. If you can do more, do more.
Yeah. Now, we had talked about second to die policy, so let me just review that again. Second to die is where you insure both the husband and the wife, and it pays upon the death of both people. So when one person dies, it doesn't pay. It pays when they're both gone. But there's some simple ways to do that. I mean, because it covers two people, the premiums are lower, the cost of insurance is lower, you can put more cash in there, builds cash faster, but some simple ways. Number one, estate taxes. Now, let me tell you 2 ways it can be used for estate taxes. Right now, the estate exemption is what, $5.49 million. So unless people have about $11 million, they're not going to pay any estate taxes. Well, very few percent of the people out there have over $11 million. If you do, let's say at $50 million, well, you got about $39 million that's exposed to estate taxes, pretty big estate taxes. And so what those people do is they buy like a $20 million life insurance policy that when they die, that goes to the IRS, and then the family gets to keep all their $50 million. So that's how it's used normally to pay estate taxes.
May I for just
Yeah.
a second? And just keep in mind, everyone, your state that you live in, the state estate tax does not shadow the federal taxes.
Right.
So you may be saying, "Hey, I'm golden. I don't have any 10 million. I'm under the unified credit." But you may not be under the unified credit for your state. And most states, even the most big, what I would call liberal states, have very low thresholds of taxation. Right. So you may not have federal estate taxes, but you may have state taxes.
Yeah, and sometimes they're called state inheritance taxes. But let me give you another way to use it for estate taxes. If right now the tax code allows you to transfer $11 million to your kids or $10.98 million to your kids tax-free, what if you got somebody who's got $5 million? Why don't they buy a $6 million policy? And now they can transfer $11 million tax-free to their kids. See, what I'm saying is you don't just think about estate taxes above the estate tax. I would encourage people below the estate tax. If you, and you don't have to give it to your kids, you can give it to charity, whatever you want, but you're allowed to leave this earth and leave $11 million to somebody. So if you don't have it, you could buy life insurance so that you get your full $11 million bang for the buck.
I think most people really do want to prosper the next generation. The people that are going to succeed us in our families, we want to help them along the way. We want to be able to give them a legacy and give them a kind of a step up on prosperity.
Right. You know, simple legacy for children so parents can enjoy their retirement. That's what we did. We have 4 kids. We bought $1 million second to die policy. For 15 cents on the dollar, we transfer $1 million to our kids tax-free. That's a pretty good deal. Legacy for special needs children. Steve, you've seen this, where there's a family, they have a special needs child. Well, as long as either one of the parents is around, they can probably take care of that special needs child. But if both of them die, who's going to take care of the special needs child? So a second to die policy can provide the money to take care of that special needs child. What about college funding for grandchildren or great-grandchildren? They build up cash fast. You can take money out of this prior to age 59 and a half without a 10% federal penalty. We see this, transferring farms and businesses. Let me give you an example. You got Mr. and Mrs. Farmer. You know, they're getting ready to retire. The farm's worth about $4 million. They got a son who's farming, and they got a daughter who's a school teacher. Well, the school teacher doesn't want anything to do with the farm, but she's entitled to half of it. The son needs the whole farm, but they can't leave the whole farm to the son because then they'd be stiffing the daughter. So what we do is we use life insurance. Because, see, when both the parents die, that son has 3 choices. If he's got $2 million in his pocket, he can hand it over to sister and buy the land. Most sons don't have $2 million in their pocket. He can go to Mr. Banker. He can take out a $2 million loan over a 15-year period of time that's going to cost about $3.7 million. It's going to cost a lot for that land. Or he could buy a second to die policy on the parents. And if I put land values, let's say the land was $8,000 an acre. If he paid cash, he gets it for $8,000 an acre. If he takes a loan, he gets it for over $12,700 an acre. If he does life insurance, he gets it for $2,800 an acre. So if you're the son, what are you going to do? You're going to pay cash? You're going to go take a loan, or you're going to use life insurance to get it for pennies on the dollar?
Tom, you just brought up a very big point here. Sometimes we don't think about the actual next generation who's going to bear the brunt of either obligations or splitting a farm, as you've just used. I could come as a child to my parents, and I could pay the premium.
Right.
It's on my behalf. It's on my behalf.
And if they don't, then the parents could still buy life insurance. Because here's what I want to make the point. The point is to transfer the business or the farm equitably, not equally. Because if you do it equally, then neither one of them is going to get then the son can't make the farm work. He needs to get the whole farm, but she needs to be compensated equitably. And so life insurance can do the equitable, the fair transfer of a farm or a business. And then charitable giving. The biggest bang for your buck you're going to get in life insurance is a second to die policy. And when you both die, you can leave a lot of money to charity for just a few pennies.
One of my friends, they were dyed-in-the-wool United Methodists all their life. Their parents were not really that wealthy, but they bought a second to die policy when it came out in the early 90s in the United States. And as soon as then they died, they passed away, and their plaque on the church donation was the same as the person who gave $1 million. They both gave $1 million. One gave it in cash, but his parents gave it in actual life insurance.
Yeah.
The same plaque, same amount.
Yeah. And it only cost them pennies on the dollar.
Penny on the dollar. So all these are second to die solutions. Again, it's great to have a contract now, especially 2 lives on one contract, pays at the second death, coincides with the Marital Deduction Act. It's perfect for that. And so if you've not looked into this, you need to talk to your advisor about it. This would be a huge, huge ability to take care of all these problems. Well, I want to thank Tom for sharing this series on the economic impact of life insurance. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check your tax consultant, legal counsel, or your financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.